welcome to the Life at Next podcast, Darren.
Thank you, Matt. Lovely to be here, and thanks for the invite.
No, pleasure. So do you want to describe what your role is? Because you'll do a better job of it.
Yeah, I'm Darren, so I'm the HR Manager for Product and Joules.
Oh, Product and Joules.
Product and Joules,
Product and
yeah.
Joules.
It keeps me busy.
Yeah, I bet. So product. What does product mean in what is that?
So it's one of the head office functions. So we've got the pillars across head office, but product is everything to do with the product.
Of
so,
NEXT.
Of NEXT,
Yeah, cool.
So I kind of like to think of it as the heart of the business, really.
Ooh,
I do. I
all
like
the
to
product people.
We're the heart
like,
of the business.
yeah.
Come on, product. So that's ranges: women's, men's, kids, home, brands, next sourcing. It covers quite a range, absolutely.
Quite a big population of people, though.
Yeah, big population. The creatives, I like to call them. So your buyers, designers, merchandisers, yeah.
And have you always worked in HR and with people?
No.
Oh.
I've been with NEXT 22 years in September.
Wow.
I know.
22? So
Yeah.
you started when you were like 10?
Yeah, absolutely, because, you know, I don't look old enough, do I really? Let's face it. I started at 16, actually.
Wow.
Dropping my CV around the north of England, so I'm from Manchester.
Right.
Dropped him in the Trafford Centre and got a job on menswear.
Doing?
I was a menswear sales assistant for the sale, for one of the end of season sales.
Sale person,
Dropped me straight in, right into the sale, queues, you name it, it happened. So it was quite a drop in. And then, I had quite a long career, actually, in retail. So I worked through various stores across the north up to my first store manager role.
Oh, so you were a store manager as well?
I was a store manager, So when was that? I was first operations manager in 2009, and then it was 2010 I was first store manager, of a small store. Yes, and then moved across the north, actually, because the stores have different sizes and movable annual turnover, so depending on where they are. And then you build your career and go through some of the smaller stores, medium-sized stores into the larger stores, moving across areas. So I worked across Manchester and over in Yorkshire, Leeds, and over in Meadowhall as well. So across the North Belt, really.
And how did retail Darren go into HR Darren? When did that occur? Yeah.
Well, I suppose I think the natural progression of that is as you become a manager, say the larger stores, really, you're dealing more with people, aren't you? Your management team becomes larger, the structure becomes bigger. So I was definitely more of a people manager.
Right.
And how you direct and develop your team ultimately leads to the success of your store.
Yeah.
And I suppose the natural passion that I had for, people and how to work with people and how to get the best out of them kind of shone through. And I think we had an opportunity at the time, so it was one of our apprenticeship programs. So I took on an apprenticeship program with the business, and we did HR and leadership management as part of that apprenticeship for a couple of years, whilst I was a store manager. So taking it on as an extracurricular, that kept me busy.
Taking it on, nice.
Yeah, I would take it. Oh, you like that? Absolutely. And I suppose from there, I kind of forged a different path, and I saw an opening that came into retail HR. So it's still on the retail side of the business division, really. And I moved from store manager into a retail HR officer role.
Wow.
For the north.
So how long have you been like in HR in that industry then?
In HR, I moved into HR in 2019.
Right.
So not as long as people would think.
No.
Yeah, not as long as people would think.
No, I genuinely, because I've worked with you on numerous projects. I definitely would have said it would have been longer than that from the way. But I guess having that skill set as a manager and being so people focused, you've just brought that over.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, moving into a new profession, I think it was a catapult for me to be able to do that within the same business as well. And that opportunity was provided. I think, when you're thinking about ways of working and processes, policies, how the people setup is for NEXT, I think, working with that as a senior manager within the business was able to transition into a support function over the leadership function, ultimately, having that knowledge. And I think that gave me a good foundation to help build that experience relatively quickly in a business I was comfortable with, which I suppose has, moved me through that quicker, that process quicker. And I think that's been quite key. And that was a great learning foundation role. And really, really did understand what a support function is there to help, and who our internal customer is as opposed to our external customer.
I guess you've got to shift, real shift for you, going from,
Absolutely.
right, we're selling these products to customers to like, no, I've kind of got to look after the people that are doing that now.
Absolutely, and it is a different view. And what was really interesting, I suppose, one of the bigger learning curves was I've gone from a decision maker into supporting, influencing a decision maker to make their own decision in a way that considers people. Yeah, absolutely. And that is a shift because, you know, naturally you're wanting to just come in and make that decision. But you can't because you're not that decision maker. And that was a transition, but a good curve to move through.
Yeah.
And that was, again, for the North region. Yeah. And then I had an opening as a HR business partner over in head office.
Yeah.
That came up, and applied for that, and I got that working for product, as I did then, and the expansion of the HR team within product, and the remit with growing across our international business, and also within our TEP clients, so Joules being our first, expanded the remit, and I was in a position where I was promoted into HR manager for that function, so. That's where I am now.
Wow.
It keeps me busy.
So what a journey. So that's 22 years.
That took me 22 years, yeah.
Wow.
Because you do start off again a little bit when you think about it. You know, I'd moved careers. You kind of, you start again, you're from the ground up again, really, you know. And it's okay to do that. You know, you have to have a bit of a conviction, a bit of change, and you got to stick with it. But, you know, if it's something you want to do, Next will provide that opportunity. And if you take it, you've got to go with it. And that came with the relocation. I moved from Leicester to the north, and you rebuild what your life looks like. But it's, you know, it's an exciting opportunity, and change is always good, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely.
Change is always good.
And I agree with you. The fact that we've got so many industries and professions here,
yes,
you've got those opportunities. So I guess in other businesses, it might be like, well, I've got to leave because there's nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that was, you know, that's a big understanding that I've kind of picked up over the course of that journey. I mean, you know, if I'm from a retail division, fundamentally it's an operational unit, a bit like a distribution unit will be. It's very operationally led, very much a very similar role as the core role throughout, so sales team or a warehouse operative team. And then you come into the head office environment and you've got all these different professions, you know, tech, finance, product, design, you name it. There's so many, and they're all very different culturally, ways of working, mindsets, talents. It's fascinating to see, and actually they are like little mini business units within themselves, really, which is good. And how you are and how you interact with those different people has to adapt accordingly.
Yeah, 100%. So you said there you're now working with product and TEP, which is
a total enterprise platform.
Which is part of which we've talked about on this podcast a few times, total platform, but it's an expansion, isn't it?
An expansion of it, yes. So the enterprise bit, so the E in there really is our first venture
We love an acronym.
We do. That's Next all over, isn't it? I'm sure we've got a list somewhere.
Yeah, I bet we have. I think we've got a site.
I know, we probably have. I think we do. That's your remit, I think. We do. And absolutely. And that was all about, so Joules being the first of that for us.
Yeah.
It's about the people and the support functions around the business actually leading on that aspect of that, you know, that business and being part of that business. So for us, HR, learning and development are led, managed and run by the Next teams.
Wow.
They don't have a support functions that we call them, a whole HR support function as we would here at Next. We've kind of put our arms around them and are there for them and their business. And it's really exciting, actually, because, you know, I look after Joules, and obviously I look after Next departments as well. And when you move between the two, it's like stepping into two different realms.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. We're Next. You know, I've been with Next a long time. We're through and through. And we're big corporate. You go into Joules and it's a very different personality, very different environment. It's a smaller entity.
Yes.
The values are slightly different. And actually, going into it's quite exciting to go in and look at a business and how it operates in a different way. And how can we best build a people infrastructure that gets the most out of the team and really gives them those, you know, those foundations to be able to succeed at work. And I think that's the most exciting thing about building that people support.
So another new challenge for you, really.
Yeah,
That's what it
absolutely.
is, isn't it? Yeah.
Who would have known, for putting socks out, on my first shift in a, busy store in Trafford Centre, and now I'm sat in Joules head office and Next head office, and really helping to add value to the business by supporting the teams that are in there, and that is quite rewarding.
And is it like you said, because you've got so much experience as a Next employee and knowing the culture and clearly understand it because you've developed, has that shift working with like a brand like Joules been quiet at times, like, this is a new challenge?
Absolutely. I think you've nailed it. I mean, it's a very new challenge. It's a very different culture. We can't just go in and adopt how Next ways of working are and go and put them into a non-corporate environment or in a business that doesn't operate in that way. Because that can be quite damaging, or it can be quite damaging, and that level of change, it can be quite harsh all at once. I think what I think's been quite good about having a good broad understanding of Next is, one, how our support functions wrap around them. We've got those connections. We can help make things happen and build that synergy. But also, I think it's really important to kind of note that some of the things that we do really well structure-wise, some of our processes, we can use and adapt and present them, use and adapt to meet their needs and what their people work with. So we've got that framework to really go, this is what we can offer. Does this work for you? How can we adapt that, and how can we make
you got an
that
example
better?
of that you can think of, like that's where it's worked quite well, like one particular process or something that's...
We've worked recently on... salaries, for example, salaries and salary grids, and we've just done a re-benchmarking exercise. So it's an annual exercise that is pretty standard practice in the HR world, as you'd imagine. And with a business that's probably not got the same level of structure to a salary grid, we want to be able to give someone an opportunity to be able to earn more money and see what that scope looks like. When we are talking about performance-related pay and what the outputs are for development for people, because we're crying out, it's fundamental that people are crying out for that kind of development and where they can go within the scope of their roles. And I think what we do have at Next is a really robust talent process that allows us to really define what that performance looks like and how people can work towards earning different progression points within their roles themselves. And it's a real motivator for people to be able to really stretch their talent. And I think using our strength framework, we can go into Joules and go, right, how do we build a talent pool of resource for you, and can we take some of that framework and adapt it accordingly? And that's, I think, one of the real initial core project pieces we've been working on in order to get the team really motivated in their green shoot world, so they call it, as they're really, really working on their products and starting that development of change within their business.
That's really exciting, actually, isn't it? And you're so right on the scope and giving people that basically transparency, isn't it? To be like, look, this is where we're going and where you can go.
And how you're going to contribute to that. And this is what we can reward you to do as we get to that stage. And people feel they're on that journey and they're on board with that process. And that really does get the buy-in, especially for a business that's slightly smaller entity as well. In some ways, all the departments are very closely knit together, very close knit. It's a very open plan environment, actually. It's slightly different to, say, where Next is, a much bigger entity. And I think that really does help that collaboration as well, and really understand how all the roles work together and what their outputs are and how that adds value to the business fundamentally.
So is Joules almost like, it's like a part, an extension of, well, not an extension because it's got its own culture, but it's almost like a product team in its own right as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that is the core of it, yes. So the core of Joules now are the product teams. Yeah, absolutely. And they're the ones that it's driving that new product and building, as they would do for product here, the heart of the business, really. And they are surrounded by, smaller functions within, tech and finance and some other ancillary operational roles as well. But fundamentally, they cover around that arc of product. And they have their stores infrastructure. Let's not forget, they have, nationally, they have a wealth of stores, as we would. They've got that portfolio as well as their online business as well, to which our TP platform is now supporting.
No, which is great. So I think that's what's exciting about TEP now, isn't it? We took what it's kind of gone, all right, from a distribution and e-commerce point of view, we could offer you this, but now we've kind of gone, but there's also what about your HR and what about financing and what about, well, tech was kind of already in there, but do you need more of that and what else? So we're offering, Next is slowly becoming offering services, which we've never done.
No, we haven't. And it has been a learning curve in certain ways as we've started to, understand how that looks. Of course it has. But what I think we've got here is such a wealth of knowledge across different specialisms. So, we've got yourselves and the employer brand team, for example. We've got the compliance team, the sponsorship team, we've got our coordination, our learning and development team, our HR generalist team, so we've got such a pool of people's experiences we can pull on to really help shape what that looks like. That has been what's been most exciting. So everyone's kind of had a finger in the pie as well to help really support that business from a people point of view. Move off the ground as they've joined the next group, I suppose, really.
Yeah, definitely. And what are the kind of things that push you to do it then, Darren? Because I guess it's like just hearing all of that in the short time we're talking now, it does seem like you're always looking for that next thing to, pushed you along, which is great, which I think loads of people at Next have.
Yeah, I think you've got to work, it's important.
That,
I don't know. I think I've always been a go-getter. I think you've got to have a certain personality trait. Work's important to me. I think it gives you a lot of structure in your life. And I know, your recreational time is incredibly important. Of course it is. We're not all about work, but it is an important part of your life. And I've always looked at it that way. I suppose it's, even from when I was younger and my dad's like, don't worry about university, son, get to work, that kind of thing. And we were always instilled in me that work is really important and you're going to earn some money and I suppose from there I've built my kind of ethos around that really. And go-getter. You go and make of it what you want to do, particularly in the roles that we're in as well. We build the work based on what it is that we're seeing, what we're observing, what's happening in industry, what's happening in the people culture around us externally as well, and what can we learn from that to help strengthen and improve our own internal cultures. So you've got to be a go-getter and you've got to want to make a difference and impact people, because there's nothing more satisfying than someone feeling as though they've had that support from the HR function, for example, where it's outside of what their normal day-to-day would be, and actually they need that support in order for them to be able to move forward. And you add real value by giving them that time and advising them on how can they use your time and enhance their own populations, really.
That's a really, really nice way of putting it, actually, like making that impact on the other people around the business as well, like, and really bringing your knowledge to them.
Yes, because that's what you think. Sometimes you think, you deal with this, so you've got an idea of how things go, and each individual case can be very different. But you can really add the value to that manager or that team who need that support.
I guess because as well, sometimes there's there could be a stigma or a stereotype just attached with HR that actually just sorting problems out, but that's. Way you're describing it it's nothing like that at all.
No, and I certainly don't look at it that way. Of course, there's an element of problem solving. Of course, there is. That's always going to be the nature of the beast, so to speak, when you've got people in your business. But no, I think good HR practice, good people practice is all about creating a culture and an environment that allows people to thrive and really has them at the heart of everything that we do, because ultimately we are no business without our people, are we really?
No.
We must keep sight of that.
Definitely.
And that's really important.
Yeah, even though we are at Next, and it's been said many times by different people on the podcast that, that we can't shy away that we do love sales, and we do
absolutely,
and we do love that because we have shareholders and we there's a lot of people in products as well that love the numbers and love to get that, but none of that happens without people, really. So
and it's how we nurture those people to get the best out of them, and there is so much talent. It's all about nurturing that talent, and that's the great side. That's the side that we can really influence for change, and that will impact then that employee journey.
What ways are you seeing that we're trying to nurture people, especially the people that are maybe a bit younger coming into work? What things are you think Next are doing that maybe we've not done in the past, or people wouldn't really know? Well,
I think that's an interesting question, because I think we've been on a journey, I suppose. I think we've probably talked, or you may have talked previously, about diversity and inclusion, for example.
Yeah, we've had a few people.
Have you? Yeah. There's a lot of talk around that. It's very topical at the moment, and what we need to think about is the cultures that we're fostering within the business and how inclusive is that culture,
right?
And the diversity of people that sit within that from various backgrounds and social situations, and how we get the best talent from them and attract that is really important. So when you think about, you know, the younger generations, you know, the Gen Z generation, and even younger, it's an expectation that we really have a consideration for what their needs and what their desires are as well. And they're very used to having inclusive cultures where we talk to those populations, we consider the differences of individuals within those areas, within study, within uni, within schools, and as a business, we need to adapt to be able to fulfill the requirements of those needs of the new generations that are coming into our starter roles, particularly in our early careers roles, which are fundamental to most of our business areas in harnessing new succession and talent.
Especially in product, because I know a lot of the people that are in product, like the buying managers or the buyers or the merchandisers or they've come from trainees anyway.
Absolutely, yeah.
So if that's our blueprint, so to speak.
Yeah. We're known for it, absolutely. We're known for growing our talent, and absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's, if you've got the talent, you want to work hard, and you really want to work your career through Next, you absolutely can do. And I think there's a lot of people testament to that, and there's a lot of long service in the business, and we've got to be proud of that. And you know, the more we can influence, should I say, our culture to be more inclusive and more outreach all of our populations, whether we're offline population, so whether that's a retail sales team population or a warehouse population versus our online teams, so those that are computer based or head office based generally, we need to be able to adapt and make sure we've heard the voice of all of those individuals to help shape what that looks like, and that's something we're working hard on at the moment. I work very closely in the HR team with the leads of the HR functions to look at D&I.
Okay, so it's an actual.
Absolutely.
It's an object. Well, not even an object. More than that, really.
Absolutely. It's part of the HR agenda, and we have to lead where we feel our priorities are in order to grow and build on our successes. I think we've spent the last 5 years really building, a solid base infrastructure for what D&I means, whether that be policy or guidance or well-being, and how we've definitely looked at all of that is so important. But we also need to consider, how do we move forward? How do we elevate that? What's next for us to enhance that inclusive culture and really attract and retain the right talent? And we're working very closely at the moment with external body to build a bit of a diagnostic, really, of where we are as a business from a diversity perspective and inclusive culture. And hopefully, once we have this back, we can really shape what are our go-fors, what we're going for, what do we need to go after to really move as an elevators for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then how we can utilize our people team to support the leadership team in driving those initiatives and that change ultimately over those periods. And I think that is quite exciting opportunity.
Yeah, really
for
exciting.
Us. We've got to pull on our specialist talent pools within the external environment, and I think that's really great. Help shape what that looks like. Where are we at? Let's evaluate us, because we're in it. And then we can really adapt that to the business and work with that forward. So lots to go at.
Loads. Oh, yeah. And I think as well, isn't it, with the diversity and inclusion and anything related to that space, it's as well, we want the best people as well. So it's not we're not just doing it because we have to. We're doing it because we want to. Yeah. And it's about going after the people and showcasing, look, you can have a part here. Like, absolutely. it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, come and be part of Next, and it's really, really important that we continue to do that, because I know, working with yourself and other people in HR, there's a lot that goes into it to make it happen. And
absolutely. We don't have a direct resource for that. This is about us really having a passion for change and wanting to really strengthen our culture so that we can get those people in and get the best people, Particularly if you look at our network setup, for example, I know we talk about that a lot as such. And it's probably the most recognised side of where...
I think it's an easy way of... an easy way of
articulating
it. Yeah, definitely.
I think that it is. We've got different threads, whether it's our menopause or wellbeing chat threads, or whether it's the pride or the unity or the able, we've really got some solid solid communities within the business, and we're working hard with them to be able to shape what that looks like. And that forms part of that diagnostic of where we are and how we can continue to elevate that and expand our outreach and be more inclusive of other diverse populations within the business as well. So it's ever evolving.
But even then, I just thought, and you said that, how good is it that you've just reeled off like 5 or 6?
Yeah.
And yet, I bet I'm even probably going to say 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well,
probably maybe 1 or 2, if that.
If that, I think the earliest. I think the earliest one was Pride, to be fair, and I think that was, we're looking at 5 years old near enough as a network within the business. Yeah. So if you look at the shift that we've had within that period, it moves at a pretty rapid pace.
Yeah.
So what could the next 5 years look like?
Yeah.
I can't answer that quite now.
I was literally like, oh, that could be my next question. But I don't think we ever really know, do we? I don't think we ever pigeonhole ourselves into saying, oh yeah, this is where we're going to be. We might start going down a path and go, well, actually, that's the way to go instead. And let's do a little, some of you go off that way and some, and we'll meet back in the middle. And
that's how we've been successful, isn't it?
As a business,
we don't have that blueprint fully
Not fully
outlined in a full structure,
no.
and you must follow this, and this is what we must achieve. It develops and adapts dependent on the needs, I mean, look at yourself and the employer brand team. For me, the work that you do with us is amazing. It is, but ultimately, how you then portray that, push that out, externally, internally, and bring all of that together across the business, and the progression that's had over the last 5 years when you think about it,
a
to
lot.
where we are now.
A lot.
It's fantastic.
Well, we wouldn't be doing this.
We wouldn't, would we?
We
We've
wouldn't
got a
be doing
podcast
this.
series. What's this? Number 17?
Yeah, I always forget the numbers, but no, you are right. There's loads of examples in the business, whether it be, like, even if you take TEP and products, like how products grown in HR.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's an example of it, or how the employer brand's grown and the people involved in that, or even you're looking like somewhere like, I was talking to someone the other day just in the corridor, how e-com's evolving internationally.
Massively.
And it's just like, and you start going, God, this is happening everywhere. Not at Next, it's not just one team.
No.
No, it's like every team is like, oh, let's do a bit of this and let's do a bit. And it just, I think there's that desire to just always want to do a little bit more, but better, and just get better at it.
And more efficient.
And grow. And, it's such an exciting time. And that's what I love about it. It's like you've always empowered, like, I always say to people, if you've got that, like, I know it's probably not the right phrase, but it's the only way I can think of saying it, the startup mentality of, you want to go at it. Like, you want it, like you said earlier, it really beneficial here.
Absolutely.
Because people feed off it as well. Everyone's like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Try it. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else.
So what?
We'll look in a different direction. It's all about that creative approach to change. I think it's really important. And you can go at it.
Yeah.
And the business has shifted massively in the time that I've been here. When you think about the years and how things have moved over that period of
retail,
time.
Retail to what it, not even online, like other businesses, online functions as well, and logistics and stuff. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
Massively. It's crazy.
So
if you were gonna give one bit of advice, because you are in HR,
here we go.
You're in HR, so I'm expecting a big answer here. No pressure, but if you're gonna give like one advice to someone that's like either just started or coming into the business, what do you think you'd say to them?
I think for me, it's you're coming in for a reason.
Oh, okay.
You're coming in for a reason. You need to believe in yourself and your own talents. And you come in and then you need to just make sure that you really shape what is successful of others that can really enhance your own talent set in a professional environment, particularly at that early career stage. That would be what I'd say. So you come in for a reason, you're talented, therefore use the experience and shape how you want to develop yourself. And I think you've got that opportunity to do that. And that for me is where you can really succeed in the business.
That was such a good answer.
Oh, there you go. That's HR for you.
Yeah, that was such a good answer. I love it. You're here for a reason. I love it. But you are so true. It's almost like if you've got the job, we believe in you.
Yes.
So
it's over to you.
Yeah, it's over to you. It's not, you don't believe in yourself and go for it. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's been great having you on, Darren.
Yeah, well, thank you. No,
We've
lovely
covered
chatting.
loads.
We have, haven't we?
It's
It's a big remit.
But no, it's been really good chatting through,
Thank
and it'd be really interesting to see where you take, product and
Yeah.
the TEB clients from a HR point of view. So,
Absolutely.
can't wait for it.
Thank you.